Hey, everybody.
Hello.
You are not going to do a fake accent this whole time, are you?
I might.
No. Yeah, see if you can keep it up.
I don't think I can because people might get very offended. It's a mixture of many accents.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like one particular accent.
I'll just
Um,
keep with my Texan way and be like, y'all.
okay.
I stole that from tequila.
Did you? Hey, everybody. We're back live with CricketSong, and today we're talking with Adam from The Witchy Show. And we're doing this because we ran out of time our last live. Adam wanted to keep talking, and it was an hour and a half later, and I'm like, we got to go.
You know that my live streams are usually 3 hours.
I know. And whenever I'm watching it, I'm like, oh my God, Adam, this is way too long. I have shit I got to go get done.
This is why I make jokes in the live streams I do solo now, where I'm like, I bet you Lunar Wisdom is there, or she's like off doing laundry, or her husband is all like, oh God, is he in our house again?
Yes, is he still talking? Yes, oh my God. Or I'm doing all of the above. He's sitting there listening, I'm folding laundry and listening.
I am your radio in your house. And
sometimes you are. Sometimes. But the thing is, sometimes, even not only when I'm listening to videos by you, but by other people too, if it gets silent and I know that or it's just music, I know that there are video clips or something that they're showing, and I have to run back to the computer and rewind it to see what I missed. And that gets frustrating. So.
Yeah, you can't walk away from the grimoire. There's all the flashiness going on.
Hey, Tisha. Welcome. Yay. So today's topic is we're talking about the practice of witchcraft. And actually, if you watch the previous live between Adam and I, we sort of ended when Adam was discussing or wanting to get into the difference between being a witch and practicing witchcraft. And
I know my argument now. Thank you.
I think he said, because people confuse the two, everybody does it, even he does it, I think is what he said. And he wanted to sort of explore the thought there that is there a difference between being witch and practicing witchcraft? So where I would like to start in this conversation is sort of giving our personal definitions of what witchcraft is and how we define witch. So, Adam, if you want to start.
So being a witch is like being a Christian. It's a spiritual experience. Not every... Oh. Why do I have echo? Do you hear echo?
Mm-mm.
Oh, I have echo. Maybe it went away. Anyways, being a witch is like being a Christian. Not every Christian goes to church. So not every Christian practices their Christian craft, if you will, in that regard. But they're still a Christian. They still believe in their Christian roots and the Christian aspects and fundamentally everything that makes them a Christian, minus maybe going to church every Sunday. Maybe they only go on Christmas, or maybe they don't go at all. So, but they still believe in God. So being a witch, you can be a witch. You can still believe in the earth. You can still believe in all of the things that make you whatever kind of witch you want to be, but maybe you don't practice. I had this conversation years ago when I started my channel where it was something along the lines of, you're not a witch if you don't practice, or you can't be a Wiccan if you're not a witch, or something like that. I don't remember. But anyways, the practice of the craft is the physical application of manifesting things. Maybe you're sitting there and you're just manifesting it in your brain, butt naked on the couch, or maybe you're lighting candles. But there are some witches that don't do that. They don't do anything, but they identify as witch and they respect the earth and they treat the earth with respect. And maybe that in itself is a form of practice of witchcraft. I don't know. But to me, there's a difference of being a witch and being a witch who practices the craft, because you can be one without doing the other. That was my difference. Which is completely opposite to what it was a few years ago, where I was like, if you're not practicing, how are you calling yourself a witch? So, yeah.
Yeah, I think, all right, so for me, the definition of witchcraft is the craft of the witch. It's a skill of the witch. It's what the witch does. So witches practice witchcraft. So, and so that's how I define it. It's what a witch does. It's the craft of the witch. So then how do I define a witch? I think, and I believe that a witch, you can have atheist witches, meaning that there are some witches that don't believe in a god or personified gods, but I do believe that some witches have a matron or patron, a god or goddess that they follow. So I don't think the worship of a deity is necessary in being witch. I think witch is definitely, like I said in our last live, a perspective on how you view the world, how you understand life, death, and everything in between. It's a understanding and a recognizing of the interconnectedness of everything, whether you put deity in that or not. It's the way in which we relate to the energies of everything. And there is a focus on the earth and nature. There's a focus on the physicality. I think that I feel is the difference between magicians and witches. I feel like the magician has a more focus on the internal self and the spiritual, looking to ascend and become one with whatever, the universe, the gods. And witchcraft really has more of a focus on the here, the now, and life in the physicality. Not that we don't work with spiritual entities, or not that we don't travel to the unseen realms. And some of us have a focus on those unseen realms, but our primary concern is what's happening with humanity and nature and the planet now. So to your point of, what is it, Wiccan, witches and all that, I think Wicca tends to blend the magician and the witch. So there is a focus on the higher ascension of self as well as the physicality. It's the blending of high magic, low magic kind of thing, spirituality and folk magic kind of thing. I think that's a unique practice in itself. But I think that witches, whether you're a Wiccan, whether you're a satanic witch, whether you're a Christian witch, whether you're an atheist witch, whether you're a Celtic witch, whether you're a, I don't know, folk witch, whatever, pagan witch, whatever flavor of witch you are, there tends to be a focus on how to improve my life here and now in this moment, and how I can help improve everyone else's life if you want to be altruistic in that sense. Those are my definitions. Witchcraft is a craft of the witch. Okay. And witches are this perspective, this understanding, this view, this way of being.
But wouldn't you agree that you can have this way of being, this view, and not practice the actual craft of itself? The spell crafting, the rituals, the herbs.
Well, then I think, no, actually I don't. But
that's a complete opposite view of what I had years ago.
But this is why. Because being witch, because I understand the interconnectedness of myself with all the energies of everything else, that connectedness is always there. So whether I'm making a sandwich for my children or whether I am taking a shower, there is always a magical aspect to what I'm doing because I am aware of the energies and how what I am doing is going to affect everything else that I'm doing.
And that's a complete opposite for me. We talked about this last time after the live stream had ended, where I had mentioned that I don't always see things witchy, like making a sandwich for my child or taking a shower or even taking a crap. I don't see anything magical in any of that unless I'm physically putting intentions into making a sandwich. I mean, unless I'm physically thinking about it, I'm not seeing it in a magical kind of space, if that makes sense.
It makes sense. And then this kind of like brings me to the fourth, the practice of the fourth way, or the philosophy of the fourth way. It's, is it Gurdjieff who presented this fourth way, which looks at the world as individuals, and it's sort of like the Matrix. There are people who are sleeping and people who are awake, right? And the people who are sleeping are part of the Matrix. You know, they're plugged in and they're just going about their everyday life, and they're sleeping, they're dreaming. Or that even kind of falls into the First Agreement. Is that by Paulo? I can't remember his last name, but is it the Fourth Agreement? I think the dreamers, the people who are living life in sort of this unconscious way. They're just reacting to the things that are happening around them. You know, you have the urge to take a shit, then you go take a shit. You know, you have this
there goes your monetization.
My other one was unmonetized too. Whatever. I don't give a fuck.
Language.
So it goes into the idea that, you know, there are those who are just reacting to things. You know, you're hungry, you go eat. And then there are those who are awake or try to be awake. It's a constant battle because we're influenced by the world around us, and we understand the connectedness and we utilize that. We're always working magic kind of thing. Or there's the perspective, because your eyes are opened and you see this interconnectedness and you're working with it. So it becomes this the way in which you do things. So I think that for witches who are not consciously practicing, you're not, you know, making the sandwich and thinking, what are peanuts good for? I'm going to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I'm going to use strawberry jam because of the correspondences to energy and life. And I'm using the peanuts because it's protein and it's prosperity. And I'm going to put the peanut butter and jelly on a whole rye bread because rye is good for prosperity and abundance and the healing properties in these things. And I'm going to cut it in triangles because of the three.
About that.
What?
I mean, aside from you, I don't think anyone thinks like that when it comes to it.
I think people do think like that. And this is in your correspondence, in your example of a Christian who doesn't always go to church. They are Christian. They claim they're Christian. They believe in some of it, but they're not living their life in a Christian way. They're not following Jesus's example. I think, and I think there are reasons, and I don't think we can say that there is one overall arcing reason why some Christians are only participating on Easter and Christmas. There are some witches who only participate on Samhain. I think each individual has different things that they're being influenced by. And I think if you don't have a job and you're worried about being evicted and you can't pay your bills and your car is broken down, I think your basic needs need to be met first. And if you can't meet your basic needs, then how can you find the energy or the effort to look to other things? And I think this is what we talk about when we're saying try to witch through it. I think remembering that you're a witch, just remembering that you're a witch, remembering that everything is interconnected, remembering that what you do today will affect and build momentum towards your intention tomorrow. And I know it's difficult because we are humans and we're living a physical life experience, but remembering these connections and remembering your perspective, you can use that to get out of the rut or to find that job or to do whatever it is that you're trying to do. I think when we forget and we're influenced by all other things that are happening around us or the life experiences we're living, I think those are the moments when we feel disconnected to our craft.
I mean, if you were ever connected to begin with.
True.
I think that there are some people out there that are looking for connections in the wrong places. And I think that the more you struggle against that or struggle with that, the less clear your path in life becomes. I'm the type of person who thinks of things in both analytical and spiritual. It's very a mix. I have one foot in both worlds, so to speak. And I become very connected and very grounded to the spirits and the earth when I'm out in nature. And when I'm in the city, it's not hard to be connected in that way. But I think we all do things differently, and we don't realize that they might be witchy, and we don't think of them as being witchy, because I don't. But that doesn't make somebody less witch than somebody else. It just makes their point of view different. And it's like, oh, you can see that just because you don't see this as witchy, but I can see all of the ways that it is witchy. And it's just a different viewpoint, really.
I agree.
But it's a viewpoint that is being used in some circles, not all circles, but some circles, to discredit another witch's path, craft, or direction that they're going.
Right. And to November Eve. So are you saying if you're a witch, you're always witching, even if it seems mundane? Yes.
And I say no.
And I say yes. And that's why then I go back and I ask Adam, what is your definition of a witch? And it's the idea of, do you believe that if you're a witch, you can put the cloak on and take the cloak off? Because if you are an individual who believes that you're witch and you can put the cloak on and take it off, then if you're taking off the cloak of witch and you're no longer witch, you are a Cowan or a muggle or a non-magical person, whatever term you want to use for yourself, then when you are a mundane, then what you're doing is not witchy. If you believe that you can put witch on and take it off. I personally don't believe you can put witch on and take it off. I believe that once your eyes are opened and you are initiated into witch, then nothing is ever the same.
I don't think it's about taking a cloak on or putting a cloak on or taking it off. I think it's more about the fact that, okay, so your eyeballs are awakened and you can see everything around you, fantastic, but you are also grounded in this thing called reality, where you also know that the world is still a thing and it's still moving around you. And unfortunately, we all still need to have jobs. We all still need to worry about other things in our lives other than, do I worship the spirits tonight? I mean, maybe you're dealing with a serious family situation. And yeah, everything can be witchy and we can all go to the altar for everything. But to me, some things are better dealt with as a muggle than as a witch in some instances. And I don't think that makes me less than or makes anybody else less than. I think that just points out that we have this ability where, yeah, our eyes are opened and everything like that. But at the same time, we still are able to have one foot grounded in reality, where it's like, sometimes I don't need witchcraft or to see through the eyes of a witch. Sometimes I need to see the situation for what it is and come up with solutions that may or may not be witchy to deal with that particular problem. That's how I see the world.
So are you suggesting then that witches are not grounded in reality?
I think some aren't. I think some witches can get lost in what I like to call the magical world, where they see everything as witchy. And I don't mean like everything, like taking a crap or whatever, but like they're the type of witch that every tiny little issue that they run into, they're like at the altar and they're always cursing or casting spells or doing whatever it is, because everything needs to be solved by magic. And I think in some instances, you just need to step back as a muggle, look at the entire situation, be like, okay, magic can be applied here, here, and here, but not there, because I physically need to deal with that on a mundane level. So I think being witch and practicing the craft goes hand in hand with being able to step back from a situation and not instantly think that, oh, I need to cast a spell to get a job. Well, step back from that situation. Like, what's going on here? It's like, well, I lost my job because I was stealing money from the cash register, and now I need to cast the spells, get a new job. Okay, well, what life lessons have you learned? How about not stealing money from the cash register? There's a perfectly muggle, mundane thing to learn. And it's like, learn that, work on that. Why were you stealing the money? What's the root cause, right? Get to the root cause. And people can think about these things in witchy ways, but this is where I'm thinking about it as a muggle thing. It's like, okay, you were stealing money from the till, you got fired. Why were you stealing money from the till? I'm not getting paid enough. Okay, so how much more do you need? Oh, I need an extra 500. So here's another job that will pay you more money. The solution there is to find another job, not steal money from the till. There's nothing witchy about that. So that's how I think about things. And then once you've dealt with that issue and you've accepted the consequences and you've learned from your mistakes, assuming there are no criminal charges involved, then you can start working the magic to find a new job, but also realizing that what you actually want from that job and being clear and being specific. See, that's where witchcraft and the mundane come together, in my opinion. You're figuring out how you got here, and then you're figuring out where to go, and then you're bringing the craft in if it's needed.
See, I would approach that whole topic from a witch's perspective, which again is looking at everything being interconnected. You know, why did you steal the money to begin with? And when you start looking through the reasons why you did that, that's the internal work. Clearly, you're not aligned with what you truly desire. If you truly desire to be able to pay your bills and to pay rent, which led you right now that you didn't have enough money for that, so you stole the money at that moment, you made that decision. Yes, there are lessons to learn, but there are lessons to learn on the witch perspective as well. You know, the consequences of what you've done are going to reverberate through everything, through the energy of yourself, to the energy that you are working and exchanging with the business that you're working for, and the money, your exchange in the money, the relationship you have with money. And I think to separate the two is to address the issue. And I think you can address the issue successfully by separating it, but I also think you can address it successfully by not separating it, by understanding that the energetic relationship is directly affecting the physical relationship, and the physical relationship will directly affect the energetic relationship. Ideally, working on the energetic level will bring it into manifestation instead of working from the manifestation and trying to backtrack to the energetic level. The majority of humanity works from physical manifestation to energetic. And I believe that personally, I believe, and it is my opinion, that working from the energetic to the physical will yield us the better results, the easier, the quicker, because we're working with the momentum of what already exists within us in a energetic or spiritual way. Because I believe we were manifested from spirit, energetic, through the different planes of existence into physicality. That's how we were born as physical individuals. We weren't physical beings and then energy was connected into us. I don't believe that's how it works. So I think that, I mean, if this is the way that you work, if the way you work is looking at physicality as a separate thing from your spirituality and it's working for you, then great. But what I'm suggesting is that once you are witch and your eyes are opened, you have the unique perspective to work with it together instead of
separate. Yeah, you do. The problem with the echo, the problem is when you become, or when you're an empath. So for me, being an empath, the energy of a situation affects my emotions, which then clouds my judgment and clouds the one thing that I always trust, which is my gut feeling. And when the energies are misaligned, my emotions are misaligned. And so the situation can spiral quickly, because it's more of me putting my emotional energy into the situation as opposed to thinking about it analytically, stepping back and realizing that, oh, this isn't as bad as I think it is, or maybe it's worse than I think it is, but I need to deal with it in a different way. And so for me, being an empath, I have to separate those two things, because if I don't, then it's just my emotions is controlling the entire situation. And I've learned in my 32 years of existence that your emotions can only get you so far in any situation. So.
But as an empath, I am also an empath. I've been an empath all of my life.
Do you have books on being an empath, Mrs. I'm an empath? No, I'm joking.
But I can tell you, Esoterical Empathy by Raven Digitalis is a wonderful book. You should read it. It's written by a witch about empathy. I have an interview with him somewhere on my channel, so you should go check it out and buy his book. But shielding and grounding are important for the empath. So I feel like that if you are shielding and you're grounding and you are finding your true sense of self and working with that, will lead you in the right direction, and you won't have to separate the two. I do think that there is a difference between going to your altar to do a spell for every single thing and doing magical workings or working magic is different aspects of the craft. So when I say that I'm a witch, I'm always a witch, and I look at everything that I'm doing within my life from a witch's perspective. That doesn't mean I'm going to the altar every single thing, every single issue that comes up. It means if I'm driving in my car and this bitch in front of me steals my parking spot, I'm not going to hurry up, whip out a portable altar and do a curse on her. No, because I am working with the momentum of what I truly want, I can do magic, manipulate the energy right there and then without having to do a ritual or cast a spell. I can work magic right there and then and there. And I need to be careful, because if I let my emotions guide what my next words are going to be or my next gesture is going to be, I could be sending out an intention in that moment that I may regret later. So.
Also, to Kimmy Workman, the answer is yes.
What did Kimmy ask? Oh, let's see. I have a question. I know someone was Wiccan and now she is Christian. Is that okay for her to believe in Wiccan and believe in Christ? That's the question. Well, Adam says yes. My thought is from the Wiccan perspective or the pagan perspective, sure. From the Christian perspective, it would depend on her flavor of Christianity that she's practicing.
Yeah, it depends upon the Bible she's using. Like I've said in many other videos, the King James Bible has changed the translation. It used to be, "Thou shalt not suffer a thief to live." I mean, there were references to magic and the occult in the Bible before that, but it's been changed to, "Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live." And if she's part of some like radical far-right Christian organization, then probably not, in her view, to be a Wiccan. But I mean, if she's just part of, you know, your everyday suburban housewife Christian sect, then probably like, I mean, Christianity, like the Bible in general and witchcraft go back, way back. Like folk magic uses the Bible. In some instances, hoodoo uses the Bible. So, I mean, in that regard, like, who cares? But it really depends upon the sect of Christianity she's joined.
I agree. From a Wiccan or pagan perspective, of course, but it depends. November Eve said, I had a pagan friend who didn't believe in casting spells because in his view, God and Goddess provided all we need.
And that's valid and fair.
Right. Again, I believe, you know, the witch's perspective, or being witch, becoming witch, is a perspective of the world and how the world works, and how the energies, the relationship between the energy, between the witch and nature and the gods, and the gods and the spirits and the witch. And it's understanding the way the energy flows. So you don't necessarily have to cast spells, being my definition of a spell is, you know, having ingredients, having words, having gestures, having an intention, having a target. That's the formula of spells, you know, and to craft it and to cast it. Like I said, with the example.
That formula better be in your book.
It is. It's in the book. It's under the chapter. Adam has a copy of my book. It's in the chapter. Let me tell you. The formula is in there. It's under spell crafting and casting, chapter 11.
Oh, I saw that chapter and briefly skimmed through, but I didn't read too much of it.
The formula is in there. So, I mean, that's spell crafting and casting. That doesn't mean that manipulating the energies as witch requires that, which leads me to the comment that Nikolai commented. I have an inner altar. It's always inside of me. You know, you can establish an altar on the astral plane. You can establish your sacred space on the astral plane in your temple, and you can approach that altar. And it's sort of like what I mentioned when, you know, if the bitch cuts me out in the parking lot, you know, what is my next response going to be? And as witch, I need to be careful as to what I say, what I do, which reminds me of that scene. Do you remember that scene in Practical Magic where the two girls, they're young and they're being picked on by the girls in town, and Nicole Kidman's character, what's her name? Sally? No, Sally's the dark-haired. Jillian?
Okay, yeah.
She points and says, I hope you get chicken pox or something. And then, oh no, that's Sally's daughters who do that. And then Sally runs out and puts down her finger and says, you never do that. You don't do that. That whole idea is that she is witch, the little girl is witch, is throwing her intention. She's pointing, she's pointing, she's directing energy through her finger like a wand, and she's sending out an intention. Got to be careful in doing things like this.
The only time that I've considered myself to be witchy in the last month or so is when I was having issues with my car. I mean, it's fixed, but I still have this anxiety because it was breaking down all the time. And so my anxiety is that at lights, it won't move. And I'm like, I mean, at light, like obviously she moves, but she's broke down a couple of times at lights where it's like you're in a traffic situation and she ain't moving. And so that's my biggest fear that I've been dealing with. And I've been trying to convince myself, if you will, that there's nothing wrong, because there nothing is wrong. Everything's been checked and by a mechanic, and they're all like, everything is fine. And so it's the only time that I've really been in a witchy mindset in the last month or so is when I keep telling myself that if you keep thinking that there's something wrong, if you keep looking for something to be wrong, it will manifest. So
yeah. So I would say, Adam, let's look at this. The first sentence that you said, you're already sabotaging yourself. I am convincing myself that there is nothing wrong. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
You're trying to convince yourself, which is telling me that you already think there is something wrong.
Well, yeah, in my head, I'm constantly thinking that there's something wrong, but I know from facts and physical proof that nothing is wrong.
So then you, instead of trying to convince yourself that there is nothing wrong, why do you believe that there is something wrong?
Because she's broke down before.
But if the fact tells you that there is nothing wrong, why do you still believe that there is something wrong?
We don't have time for that kind of therapy.
Yes, but that's the internal work that the witch, as witch, you are aware that you have these contradicting beliefs in your head. You're aware of it. You're aware that the facts say that there is nothing wrong.
Step to healing.
What?
I said, yeah, that's the first step to healing, being aware that you're up.
But what I'm trying to show you is, as being witch, you know these things. You're aware of these things, these contradicting beliefs, which puts you in a better position to align yourself with the energies of what's going on. You're aware of that. That's the perspective of witch. So even though you haven't gone to your altar or cast spells, or you feel like you haven't done anything witchy in the last few months, just the fact that you are looking at these perspectives and you understand there's contradicting perspectives, and you know that there's a way that you can realign yourself with things, puts you a step ahead of someone who doesn't even believe that shit exists.
Well, it's because this shit doesn't exist. It's all fake. Just kidding.
If you truly believe that it's fake, then there is something for you to consider as to why you claim witch as an identity for yourself.
I claim witch as an identity for myself to escape my own inner demon. Been following me.
Do you believe demons exist?
Well, of course they do. Well,
you have fact for that?
I do. It's called working with them. You should try it.
Wait, but that's all fake. It doesn't exist. Okay, so Nikolai says, I don't wait for Friday on the 6th hour to cast favorable spell. I just chant and keep chanting until I get that manifestation in my hands. Exactly. That's working magic. That's manipulating the energies. That's being witch.
Wait, like none of this
what the fuck was that?
What just happened?
It sounded like an explosion or something.
I was gonna be like, did a meth lab explode in your neighborhood?
I don't live in a neighborhood like that.
Okay.
That did not sound so good.
If you've watched Breaking Bad, you know that they'll set up meth labs anywhere.
I did watch Breaking Bad. Yeah, I know. That did not sound so good. And Nikolai also said, it's true, we manifest the good and the bad and the ugly. My shadow self has the same memories of magical knowledge as I do. Exactly. I don't hear anything else.
Oh, as I was going to say, none of this is witchcraft. It's all law of attraction, which technically is witchcraft. But I mean,
was going to say it is witchcraft.
It's all law of attraction, and the whole, like, what you put out is what you get back. But that can be applied to mundane muggles.
But mundane muggles don't necessarily believe in that.
Okay, well,
a lot of them don't believe in law of attraction. Some of them,
because it's so boiled down and simplistic these days that it sounds like something for idiots.
Right.
That's my biggest issue with it, is it's so boiled down and monetized.
But it's based on older philosophical beliefs. I mean, the law of attraction is a more modern version of it, but you can go back to the Golden Bough, which talks about the philosophy of how magic works, how, like it's the whole idea of building a momentum, which I've talked about, building a momentum of what it is you want. If I want a new job, I'm going out and putting out applications. I'm looking online. I'm signing up for websites. I'm looking to get in touch with headhunters. I'm putting up a LinkedIn profile. I'm doing all this, which means I'm focusing on what it is I want. I want this job. I'm sending out resumes. I'm researching companies I want to look for. This is doing the work and building the momentum to get to where I want to go. And if you then do spell castings, if you then do candle magic or whatever type of magic you end up working, petitioning the gods, the demons, the angels, the beloved dead, whoever it is you work with, you'll eventually manifest what you want if you are in aligned with that. But then a lot of us, because we're human, because we're influenced by outside things, because we have shadows within ourselves, tend to put up obstacles for ourselves and will self-sabotage. It's a continuous process of becoming
more human than it does witchcraft.
But it's all hand in hand. As I'm a human, but I'm also a witch. Like you said, 1 foot grounded in the shared reality, understanding that there are physical influences outside and internal, and 1 foot in the spirit realm, the unseen realms, where I work with the things that are unseen, the energies, and I am manifesting it. The witch is the bridge between the two.
Well, I'm not going to argue with that.
Whoop, whoop.
But I will argue many other things.
I know you will. Yes, the path of least resistance. Exactly. Exactly. The path of least resistance. So the idea is to have the least amount of obstacles in our way, right?
Yeah, I'll go with that. But I always say do the mundane first.
I know you do. I say do them hand in hand. So I'm not disagreeing, but again, it's the perspective. I really, I do not. And it's possible, it's totally possible that the way I look at it, like when I was Christian, when I was a Christian, when I was a Roman Catholic, when I was a Methodist, when I was a Jehovah's Witness, ding dong, do you want to hear the good news?
No.
When I was all these things, I lived that. I was living my life as a Christian. I was doing everything that I believed was true to walk Jesus's path. So I was living Christian. I didn't just go to church when I was Roman Catholic and Methodist on Christmas and Easter. I went all the time that I was meant to. I went to a Catholic high school. I taught Catholic classes, Roman CCD classes to the kids. When I was a Jehovah's Witness, I went to meetings Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. I was out in service when I was pregnant, after I had my daughter, my little one strapped to me as I went, ding dong, do you want to hear the good news? I did these things because I was living what it is I believed in. So as witch, I do it as well. So it's possible that this is why I approach it in this way, that being witch is part of me. It is within me, and it is what I do, no matter what I'm doing. If I'm watching The Crown on Netflix, if I'm, I don't know, grocery shopping, there is always this sense of the things that I choose, the things that I say, the things that I don't say, the actions I take. They're all magical in nature.
Well, they probably are, but my perspective would see them as mundane.
Yeah, and that's fine. Whatever your perspective is fine.
The only issue that I have when people talk about witchcraft in the way that you do is it kind of almost sounds like you can get anything with witchcraft. You can get anything. You just have to either chant about it or think about it or somehow manifest it in some way, and you can get anything. And that's where I'm like, but there's a reality. Like, you can't just sit there and think about a Maserati when you have no job, no money, and you're about to be evicted, and all of a sudden the Maserati appears. Like, I'm like, that's not how it works. And that's why I'm always like, you need to do the mundane. You got to get a job, financial stability, keep a roof over your head, stuff like that, and work towards that Maserati. While, yes, at the same time, doing the magic to get the thing that you want, but you also have to be doing the human stuff.
Well, I think getting a job isn't the only way you can get a Maserati.
Okay, well, yeah, but in
that sense that you're talking about, I think number one, there is work that needs to be done, whether it's internal work or external work, whether it's getting a job, getting stability, or whether it's going out and working to find a man to bring you the Maserati. I mean, there is work. It's work. It's not going to, well, let me rephrase.
No, it's not going to manifest instantly.
Listen, but in our modern day, that's what I wanted to rephrase. In our modern day, in the modern shared reality in which we live, we as human beings have set up a system that, as which we need to work within that system, right? We have shared beliefs that humanity, or even maybe we can even break that down between societies and cultures, because different cultures have different beliefs, right? I think we can all agree on that. Different, someone living.
Whitewash it, not really.
Huh?
I said if you whitewash history, not really.
No, I mean like today, like someone living in Africa, in the country of Ethiopia in Africa, have different reality than here in the United States. Our realities are very different, right? So if I'm a witch living in Ethiopia, the way I'm going to work my magic to work within that shared reality is going to be very different. If I'm a witch living in Ethiopia and I want a Maserati, I have a lot more obstacles standing in my way than this white woman living here in I don't even live in Washington State right now in the US. Different. So we need to understand that we all have different, the different cultures have different agreed upon shared realities and what it would take to get certain things. As which you would have a very difficult time not having a job. What were the other things you said? Not having a job, getting evicted, and still wanting that Maserati and thinking that sitting in my apartment lighting a candle is going to get me the Maserati. Ain't going to happen in this current shared reality.
Finally, something we agree on, and it's not going to happen in any reality.
Not now. And the reason I say not now, the reason I say this is we can look at past. We can look at this is the same situation as why if Jesus appeared today, say let's just agree that Jesus was a real man, and he would appear today, he would have a hard time finding people truly believing that he is the Son of God than he did back when he did.
I don't think that's the case. I think people are desperate for some kind of actual leadership. And if Christ actually appeared on earth, I think a lot of people, once it was proven that he could walk on water, they'd be like, oh, okay, this is.
And I think a lot of analytical, intelligent, rational people who are scientists who look facts will be skeptical and find ways to show that he's a fraudulent magician.
Yeah, but that's also how society works, is that once proof, like in today's society, we live in an age of fake news. Look at what is happening with the presidency right now. I know we do. So if Christ literally appeared, there would be it would be divided. I mean, right in the line.
It would.
50-50 until science.
I would say 75-25.
Okay, are you kidding me? Like Trump and Biden are 49 and 49. Minus
Trump is not Christ, and neither is Biden.
No, but what I'm saying is that the country is so divided over this that the country would become so divided over Christ appearing.
But we're talking about more than just the country. We're talking about the world.
I think I guess going from a world perspective, there's a lot of people that believe in Christ.
But even the people that believe in Christ, would have a very difficult time imagining that he came to earth today.
Not if the Catholic Church got behind it.
The Catholic Church doesn't hold a lot of credibility nowadays.
Well, they
used to. But what I'm trying to say is that the shared reality has a lot of things that we as humanity have all bought into. And it's I think, more difficult to actually work magic. I think that I don't think this would ever happen right now, not in our shared reality in the way that it is, not on planet Earth. But I do believe there is the possibility if you were, and these are big ifs, understand, big ifs. I don't think this would ever happen in our shared reality. If someone was so in tune and so aligned with their witch self, their true self, their higher self, whatever you want to call it, that they could manifest something like that, all their work has already been done. Their momentum of their true desire is already happened.
They'd be burned at the stake before they could even utter a word in front of cameras.
Or they would be sent to a mental institution because people would think they're crazy.
I mean, it's the whole conversation of like on YouTube where it's like if I wanted to demonstrate how to communicate with the spirits, right? The way I communicate with them is their voices. I have a video on this coming eventually, but they're like these multiple voices that are all in sync with each other that talk. And that makes me, when I say it like that, that makes me sound like I have mental health problems. That's me. And I have a video coming on that too.
Yeah, I actually share a story a personal story in my book under the familiar spirit section about my familiar spirit. And it's the first time I'm going to get, all right, I don't want to go into it right now. I'm getting really upset right now. But anyway, I share a story about that in the book about being concerned that people thought I didn't share it. And I still don't share it. It was freaking fucking scary to put it in the book because I think people are going to think I'm having a psychotic breakdown. And I didn't share it when I was a child because I was afraid that I was schizophrenic.
Like if I were like half the time when I'm doing videos, the Morgon will either pop up and be like, hey, I need something from you. Or the spirits will be like, oh, we can do this now, right? Like if I were to voice the intentions I put into my magics, it would literally make me sound like a schizophrenic, multiple personality disordered person who is psychotically insane and should be medicated and locked away. And that's the age we live in, where we talk about our witchcraft, we share our witchcraft, we share our experiences, but we have to be careful with what we share because it'll make us look crazy. And
then
the problem is other witches on the internet will also think you're crazy because, I mean, you don't see Ravenways sharing a conversation with her spirits. Like, even if she wanted to, you don't see her doing that. Even if Ember Honey Raven wanted to share a conversation with the Morgon, she wouldn't do it. Why? Because it would make her look fucking batshit insane.
Well, part of that I also think is because there are certain things, like even though I share the story of my familiar spirit in the book, in my book, I don't tell you exactly what we talked about. I don't tell you how my familiar spirit helps me today. I would never share a conversation I had with Danu or Isis or anybody. Well, but not only am I concerned about people thinking I'm crazy, but I'm also, there are things that are for me. There are ways that I work my magic that even if I shared a conversation with you, Adam, or with Jasmine or Nikolai or Autumn Moon, this conversation that I would have would not apply to you and your magic, because each of us are individuals. Each of us have different experiences. Each of us work our magic in different ways, even though there are commonalities between us, right?
But where I'm going with that is that if we were to share that conversation, let's say I shared a conversation I was having with Morgon in the moment on YouTube, other people would think I'm crazy. But even worse than that, other witches in the witchy community, be it on any social media platform, if they saw that video, would think I'm crazy.
Some of them, you'll get some that will also call you and say, you're not talking to the Morgan.
Exactly.
That's not what the Morgan would say.
I get people that come after me for the pronunciation of the Morgon. Like the way I pronounce it and the way you pronounce it are different. I get people that come after me for that. I'm like, really? I mean, are you even a witch? Like, do you even practice? Like, you have time to be coming at me on some social media platform, yet you some powerful, magical person. Motherfucker, please.
Yeah. Well, that goes into the whole idea of how responsible are we for another person's witchcraft, which we can talk about in another live stream. I want to look through some of these comments and see.
We're not responsible, but we should be lifting each other up, not holding each other down. Except for in one instance.
Yeah, see, now except for.
Well,
You know?
I mean, in reality, we should all be trying to lift each other up. But the problem is on social media is that A, we're catty bitches, and B, we don't come together. Remember my live stream where I talked about why aren't witches coming together to work magic, like the cone of power that Gardner did to ward off the Nazis? We could have done this for Trump numerous times, people.
And I think I commented in your chat that
you're very
specific about who I work with.
And that is not a problem that's new, because that goes all the way back. But I mean, there are common things witches should come together on. and lift each other up. And one of those is community. We might not work the same magics, but we should lift each other up, or at least the more authentic ones we should lift up.
And I'm going to stop this conversation here because I think we should have a live stream about it, because it really talks about being specific with who you circle with or who you work magic with. And I think that's an important conversation to have. So
it's not even just the working of magic, it's who you associate with in the witchy community.
But that is also connecting. It's also connecting your energies. When you are like myself and you are witch, you are aware of your energy interacting with certain people. And so I can't separate that.
Even in a digital era. Like, no, I mean, I completely agree with that, because even going through that whole tequila mess that I went through, the energies were all over the fucking place. Because even in a digital atmosphere, there's still that energy. Even if you're just reading the text, you're reading it in your mind's voice, applying your energy to it. And if you read it in a negative way, the energy becomes negative and you react to it.
Right. I want to go. Okay. Autumn Moon said, I'm always thinking about the spirit world. It's extremely important to me, and I tend to concentrate more on that than casting spells. Yep. What's this? Even hitting the lottery is work. Exactly. It's so hard. Not everyone can win it. Not the big prizes anyway. Exactly.
The lottery isn't meant for you to be won. It's what they call a poor man's lottery. It's basically where you're just giving them money, and there's a very slim chance for you to ever win it.
Jasmine says, damn, I can't just light a green candle and conjure up a Lamborghini while chilling in the hot tub and not do anything. Exactly. Yeah, gotta do. Yep, exactly. That's what we were talking about. If Jesus came back today and tried something magical, he'd be in Area 51 with the aliens. Humans have a hard time with magic, even unicorns.
I don't believe in aliens. I mean, I do, but I don't think Area 51 has any.
What else? Was there anything? Oh, yeah. I don't want to work with just anyone either. I agree. So it's almost been an hour. Do we have any questions? Anybody in the chat? We have a bunch of people in chat. Does anybody have questions? I do want to talk about that community next time we do a chat, Adam, like working with people in community, you know, why aren't we lifting each other up and all those things. I want to talk in chat again. Let's look at the calendar. Can you do not next week, but the week after? Can you? You're muted. I don't know what you're saying.
Oops, sorry. I was like, yes, that works.
Okay, I'm gonna schedule him in my date book. So that would be December 5th.
Oh, and I think it's like the following week is when my series finally ends, and then the Witchy Show goes quiet for like 2 months before coming back with all the new content.
Woohoo! So we'll say noontime my time. Noontime live stream with Adam.
Yes.
Yay. I'm putting that in my date book. Would love to see the Cone of Power. Never seen it done.
I don't think it can be done again. I think that was like a one-time thing.
Well, I think it depends on what you're talking about when you're talking about the Cone of Power. When I practiced with my coven, we successfully raised a Cone of Power once, and that's in years. But that's because there was a whole bunch of other things happening within the coven. People would join and then people would move away. So it took time to build a relationship with the other witches in the coven and to work our energies and merge our energies successfully so that we could raise a Cone of Power, but we did it once.
I think the Cone of Power, when Gardner did it, killed somebody or something. Like, I think a couple of them either got really sick or like a couple of them died or something. But where I was going with that is less about the actual spell itself and the more of coming together, regardless of your path or your tradition, and trying to change reality.
I think when you're talking about a cone of power, I think this is what I mean by a cone of power. When you've cast a successful circle. So first of all, for me, you would need to cast a successful circle. And even that can be challenging. But if you're working by yourself, I'm not sure how strong. I guess it depends on the individual witch. Raising your own cone of power. The idea is that you are building the momentum so that it's sort of like a whirlpool, and then you're raising that and sending it out to the target. So it's easier in a sense to do it with more than one witch because you have more energy and more people sort of sculpting and manipulating and circling that energy to raise it up and send it out than if you're doing it by yourself.
I mean, if you're the type of witch that's working with spirits, entities, so on and so forth, like I do, that's when you bring those entities in and you call upon their power and you channel their power through yours into this whirlwind thing that you're doing to create even more energy. Even astral traveling and doing magic on the astral plane and taking all the physical tools that you see in front of me when I do a video to the astral plane and then coming back from that is exhausting and taxing. And I couldn't imagine what it would be like to take Gardner's actual cone of power ritual and do it yourself. I couldn't imagine just how taxing that would be.
Yeah. So if there are no questions, we're going to end here. I think that's it. Adam, did you have any last things you want to say?
Yes, people need to go to my channel and they need to watch the what the hell is it called? Herbs and Oils series, because it's been getting very little views. And there's lots of great information in there for you to learn about with various different herbs, oils, resins, and so on and so forth. So watch them.
And my last self-plug, check out Becoming Witch. It's available on Amazon in paperback or Kindle. $12.99.
Mine's not autographed.
Yeah, yours is autographed. For an autographed copy, you'd have to contact me. Clearly, the copies on Amazon are not autographed. Clearly, check it out. Check it out. I guess that's it. Thank you all for joining us.
Goodbye, people.
Until next time. What's Adam's channel? The Witchy Show, or Adam Balan? You can.
Yeah, just Google The Witchy Show. You'll find me.
Yeah. Bye, all. Love you. Blessed be.